Hey folks, it's been 3 whole years since we first met our Magical Misfits. So let's take a trip back to Gowpenny and recap everything our pilot program did in the first season of Misfits and Magic.
Hi, Magical Misfits!
We begin the season with our Magical Misfits at home, blissfully unaware of the magical world. In Chicago, Illinois, Whitney Jammer was holding it down as his high school's varsity point guard. Karen Dream Tanaka was living in Seattle, Washington, though mostly they spent their time online in the forums. Sam Black was streaming on Twitch from Portland, Oregon, and Evan Kelp was on the side of the highway in Millersburg, Iowa. Now, shortly before their senior year of high school, all of them are visited by an owl. The owl carries a letter inviting them to attend the Gowpenny Academy of the Arcane Arts, a supposed magical school in London, and a teleportation pellet to get them there. Evan eats the pellet
and swallow the owl pellet.
And the other 3 crush theirs, and they all appear in Vertic Alley, a small wizarding neighborhood in London. They are greeted by Boudica Filtrum, the headmistress of Gowpenny. She explains that the 4 teens are a part of a pilot program to bring non-activated magical persons, or NAMPs,
What'd you call me?
to Gowpenny.
Fucking knew it.
Boudica leaves them in the care of a few current Gowpenny students to purchase a familiar, a broom, and a wand.
Okay.
They collect their supplies, but while picking familiars, disaster strikes. Evan's mere presence makes the familiars in the shop throw up blood.
And the blood's coming out.
And the sympathetic shopkeep examines Evan's magic and tells him he already has a familiar, his shadow.
So sad.
At the school, the pilot program joins the first years to be sorted into houses by the magical, historic confirmation dais.
Welcome!
Upon hearing the options, which can be boiled down to smart, hero, evil, and other, Evan points out that Gowpenny is tracking its students.
This is a nightmare.
Dream goes first, and upon discovering that it's possible to fail out of the smart house,
You can fail out of a house?
yells in such outrage that the confirmation dais decides to throw all 4 of them into Chimeron,
You're all in Chimeron. I don't have time.
the goat house, where all the others go. In Chimeron, the pilot program is taken in by the Undergust twins, Hoggle and Coggle, who show them the common room and the kitchen. Our pilot program bonds
Mick. Rib.
and meets Dr. Boodle, the head of the Chimeron house. While trying to summon weights,
Where do the athletes, work out?
Jammer accidentally injures Evan, whose blood becomes possessed
Don't touch my blood!
and attacks the pilot program. Don't worry, they beat it down handedly, with Sam ultimately convincing it to return to Evan's body.
You just want to go back in, just
After a morning of excitement, the pilot program goes to the first classes, meeting a sentient cauldron professor, a hippie Frunkwinkle, and as they turn the corner to their applied evocation class, they discover something on fire and roaring within. The pilot program battles down a fire construct with an Acroba student trapped inside. And with a very burned arm, Evan goes to the hospital wing and chats with Nurse Stitchnet about an exorcism to remove his demons. Nurse Stitchnet breaks the news that doing so would mean sending Evan back to Iowa. With no magic or recollection of his friends or experiences at Gowpenny, Evan decides he wants to do it regardless, and they put it on the calendar for 5 weeks out. Blissfully unaware of the fate his new friend has agreed to, Jammer teaches the pilot program how to fly, and they learn how to play scuppers, a magical sport with some poorly thought out scoring guidelines. A month later, the pilot program plays their first scuppers game.
Yeah, let's go check out the Scuppers field. That sounds awesome.
On the verge of their victory, Tallulah, one of the Hurstnell students that's particularly anti-pilot program, attempts to cast offensive magic at Evan.
Eat trash! Beat trash!
And Kay steps in front of it. Evan's demons come out to protect Kay, but the pilot program together fight them off. Headmistress Filtrum tells Evan that Nurse Stitchnet is ready for his exorcism, and her eagerness makes Evan weary. With the support and conviction of his friends, Evan sends his shadow to retrieve
A series of free weights!
for Jammer as a test of his control.
Got me a bunch of kettlebells.
Upon successfully receiving the weights, Evan decides to cancel his exorcism and stay with his friends,
I'm not gonna go through that.
much to Filtrum's chagrin. Later, Sam has a date with Fergus at the local town, Bibblesbog.
He cute, but he ain't that cute.
Simultaneously, Jammer and Khan share a drink, and Evan and Kay do the same, flirting painfully.
I can buy you a drink if you want.
Their afternoon out is interrupted when Khan reveals that there is a massive tournament happening and the pilot program is expected to compete without any forewarning.
You guys are scrappy as hell and you rock 'em.
The pilot program rushes back and achieves great success in the tournament, eventually coming out on top and proving that NAMPs are capable of great magic if they are just given the opportunity. With the rest of the semester, Sam starts empowerment workshops for Gowpenny students, with Kay and Jammer's help, and Evan begins compiling PDFs of magic tomes to release to the NAMP world. And with that, the pilot program begins to change the world.
Season's greetings.
A semester later, our pilot program prepares to return home for the holidays, only to find out that Headmistress Filtrum will not be allowing them to leave.
I'll wear pants!
They are required to stay at the school for the Lulling, a solstice holiday where all magic wanes for a few days. The pilot program is alarmed to find out that the mythos of the holiday is that a cryptic known as the Tedesha Court is said to come out and eat wizards while their magic is low. But everyone at Gowpenny seems pretty nonchalant about the whole deal. The gang meets the Minister of Education, Minister Peddleston McJohn of the Clan McJohn, of course. He tells them that the Lulling is traditionally celebrated on Gowpenny grounds by the whole wizarding community in the henge on the edge of campus. At the gathering, Jammer meets Khan's family,
Should I meet them?
straining their already tense relationship, and Sam meets Fergus's family, which also causes some tension between them.
I'm sorry.
After a poem and a beautiful fire, the lulling ends anticlimactically, much to the pilot program's confusion. On the way back to the castle, the pilot program starts finding clues that maybe things are not as fine and dandy as they seem. A piece of bloody deer velvet sets Evan on high alert,
Can I take a look at that?
and the pilot program sets off to find and kill the Tedesha Court. They track the trail down
Evan told me about echolocation.
and find a gravely injured Minister McJohn. They're able to stabilize him and rush the minister to Nurse Stitchnet.
We're the heroes here.
Kay realizes that the claw that injured him is far too big to be a natural animal, further convincing the pilot program that the Tedesha Court is out there. After an awkward run-in with Axelbead Killerin, the gang makes him cry and scares the shit out of him before realizing that maybe they've gone a bit too far.
Yeah, we gotta back up.
And that Axelby and Lemley, a chimera in front of theirs, are hooking up. Anyways, the next morning they find out that Minister McJohn has been transferred to St. Bastian's Hospital. While talking to Nurse Stitchnet, the gang comes to the conclusion that in order to foster community and lull the Tedesha Court out, they need to throw a real lulling. And they decide to do so in the form of a rager they call the Lulling.
Party, party, party.
Like, laugh out loud. Lulling. You get it.
The lolling.
Anyways, they host the lulling, and it goes hard. The rager rages. And at the height of emotion, the Tedesha Court appears.
Oh my God!
Despite all their preparation, the Tedesha Court puts up a fight, breaking Evan's ribs and scaring the assembled students. Sam and Jammer are able to rally their classmates to create community, while Kay and Evan beat the monster down. After a hard battle, and with the help of not just all the Gowpenny students, but also a viral Twitch stream from Kay and Sam, they're able to lull the Tedesha Court back to sleep. And the pilot program is triumphant once more. So that's everything that happened in Misfits and Magic. But what have the members of the pilot program been up to over the last 3 years? Where are they now? And what's going on in the wizarding world? Find out these answers and more in the second season of Misfits and Magic, only on Dropout.tv.